Hi, everyone. Pastor Scott here. It is time for our Tuesday devotion, first week of October. So here we go. We've been walking through the Bible every week, book by book, doing an overview, reading together. This week we are in the book of Haggai. And why is it so important? Why is Haggai in the Bible? Well, after thousands of years, the book of Haggai remains largely unique among the books of the Old Testament prophets for one key reason: the people of Judah listened. His message to rebuild the temple was passionate, it was simple, and it was straightforward. Look at Haggai verse 8 in chapter 1. No one could mistake whether or not his direction had been followed. The results were evident for everyone to see. Through the physical act of rebuilding the temple, the people began to indicate a shift in their spiritual lives at that time, from devotion to self and all about themselves to devotion to God. And Haggai had an important message for the Jewish people who had recently returned from exile. They had forgotten their God and chose to instead focus on their own interests, and it was time for them to reconsider their ways, as it says in chapter 1 and verses 5 and 7. Nothing was more important for the Jewish people than to show that the Lord was the center of their thoughts and actions. And so he directed them to finish rebuilding the temple. And that's what ended up happening. And rather than just leaving them alone with the task of that, he continued to preach to them, encourage them with the hope of future glory in the temple and a victory to come over the enemies of God's people. You see that in chapter 2. And according to Haggai's message, if the people would place God at the center of their lives, they would realize the future blessings that God had in store for them. And Haggai's encouragement to rebuild the temple in the face of the Jewish people's neglect brings to mind actually a lot of what we've been talking about recently in First Corinthians, in that we need to be building our lives on the foundation of Jesus Christ, as we see in First Corinthians chapter 3. Are we building a life that reflects the status of our lives being the temple now of the Holy Spirit, leaving a legacy that stands the test of time in our families and our people around us? And when they think of us, they think, yeah, that person was full of the Holy Spirit and lived for Christ. And so find encouragement in this today, for the passionate sermons that you will see in this book from this Old Testament prophet. It's a great book to read. So hope you have a great time reading that. I'd love for you to join us Thursday night at 6 o'clock for our prayer time, 7 o'clock for our Bible study, and of course next Sunday as we do continue in First Corinthians chapter 4, starting in verse 6. So a lot of great things going on at church. We've got a few baptisms coming up soon, and we had quite a few people in our membership class just a week ago. So just real excited about what God's doing here. Hope you have a great week, and we will see you soon.